Please identify yourself and say how you are participating, either video or phone. If you are participating by phone and you would like to speak, then *6 is what you would need to push in order to speak during the hearing. So, Mr. Perez, you call a roll call, please.
Senator Hansel?
Bill Hansel, present by audio.
Senator Haas?
Mark Haas, present by video.
Senator Monis-Anderson?
Lori Monis-Anderson here by video.
Vice Chair Knopp?
Senator Knopp, present by video.
Chair Taylor?
Senator Taylor here by video. Thank you. So obviously I said Mr. Perez was calling the roll, and that was not Mr. Perez. So, yeah, so I apologize for that. I misunderstood who was calling the roll. So who was calling the roll?
This is Sam Koopman, the committee assistant from ELPRO.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize for that mistake. Okay, so colleagues, as we've done for the last few days, I need you to humor me. I'm going to go ahead for those who are listening in and read the instructions into the record here. This is the final of 3 meetings scheduled for the committee to consider administration of unemployment benefits and administration of the Oregon Employment Department. During Tuesdays and Wednesdays meetings, we heard from the Oregon Employment Department about the administration of benefits during the COVID pandemic, the administration of new and expanded benefits, and the planning of the implementation of federal and state programs going forward. Today's meeting, however, is reserved for public testimony only. Committee members, if you want to ask a question, make a comment, please use the chat function. As we all know, we typically allow our fellow members and the public to speak, and I at least would like to create an environment where they feel free to speak and say whatever they would like into the record. Generally, we don't ask questions. However, if a committee member would like to do that, please put your request into the chat function. If you are participating by audio, again, you will need to press *6 to unmute. Generally, when we have hearings like this and public testimony, we generally close the record at the end of that day. However, and I want to thank Senator Knopp, our vice chair, for this, that he agreed that we should keep the record open until the end of the day tomorrow. So 5 o'clock on Friday, September 4th, the record will be open to submit public testimony of any type that you would like. However, if anyone from the public is listening and they were not able to testify today, and we're not able to go into the Oregon State Capitol, which is understandable, we do have a kiosk open in front of the Capitol, and one can testify there. This hearing is scheduled from 8 till noon this morning. However, right now we have somewhere between 20 and 25 people scheduled to testify. If you are not able to testify today, you can submit written testimony to slb.exhibits@oregonlegislature.gov until 5 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, September 4th. I'm going to, one last thing is that if anyone who is testifying today or submits written testimony, please be careful to not include contact information, your social security number, claim number, or other personal information, which you obviously want to keep private and secure. I really want to emphasize that. Yesterday we learned about, or the last 2 days, we learned about some folks who are trying to, some potential criminal enterprises trying to defraud the system, and we want to make certain that we keep your information confidential. So I'm going to go ahead and open up public hearing for testimony on the Oregon Employment Department and the administration of benefits. Colleagues, we have 2 members, one from the Senate, Senator Finley, here with us this morning, and he's going to testify first. Then also Representative Noble from the House would like to testify. After that, we will hear from those who signed up. Generally, we try to keep comments 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something in there, and so want to try to stay within those parameters. However, before we start, before Senator Finley starts, I want to thank him for reaching out not only to me, but I know to other members and I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of the President's office, but I appreciate Senator Finley taking this subject very seriously and wanting to have meaningful conversations and looking for solutions. And I appreciate the bipartisan spirit in which he has conducted himself and reached out not only to me, but I know to several other members. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank you, Senator Finley. Your approach is always greatly appreciated, at least by me and I know by others. So thank you. And I will go ahead. Anybody have any questions before we get going? Okay, thank you. Senator Finley, take it away.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair Taylor. I appreciate your kind words. And so with that, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Knope, members of the committee, my name is Lynn Finley. I am the state senator from Senate District 30, representing Southeast, North Central Oregon, and I live in Vail, Oregon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I would like to thank Senate President Courtney for recognizing the gravity of this situation and scheduling this committee hearing. When I requested Senate President Courtney to exercise the legislative oversight of the Oregon Employment Department, I did so not with the thought that the Oregon Department employees were not working to the best of their ability to provide unemployment insurance to thousands of Oregonians who desperately need the assistance. I did so with the thought that the agency is experiencing a major collapse in the ability to provide Oregonians the unemployment insurance services they so desperately deserve. After 6 months of excuses and promises, the perception is that this could be one of the top 5 major failures of a state agency within the state of Oregon. When an agency tells clients that they are unable to provide services for them, that they should call their legislator, something is wrong. And we've all legislators that I've spoken with have received multiple calls from their folks with that same story. I've submitted for the record the July 2020 Legislative Fiscal Office report titled Oregon Employment Department Information Technology Modernization Report. The report covers 6 biennium of history, issues, and decisions surrounding efforts to modernize unemployment insurance information technology. The summary covers failures in IT oversight, failures in project delivery, failures in leadership, management turnover, agency reorganization, staffing issues, and many more items that have led to mismanagement of this agency. Clearly, the major issue is a lack of leadership in allowing 12 years of excuses that this agency not to be ready for its core mission. This particular issue was sparked by the pandemic. What if the issue were the Cascadia subduction zone? The state has spent so much money and time and resources on being ready for the Cascadia subduction zone. Clearly, it was wasted with this agency by the way, it could still happen. Tragic stories come in daily surrounding the employment department. I just received yesterday a report that a school district ran afoul of the Oregon guidelines and that 150 employees have been overpaid due to employment department mistake. The employment department has verbally indicated that they have to partially own the mistake as they process the claims without applying all the proper ORSs. The governor has stated that the waiting week was going to be waived from the start of this pandemic as people started on. To date, no one has received a check for the first week of their program. I have indications that the Oregon Employment Department is not going to pay for the wait week as indicated by the governor. What authority does an agency have to make that decision? The leadership in the state has known of this problem for at least 10 years, and many other reports and audits have been completed. It is clear these reports reside on someone's shelf and collect dust. The state leadership has failed to provide oversight with adequate follow-up with this agency. I believe we have a responsibility to stop studying the issue and fix the problem as quickly as possible. We owe it to the thousands of Oregonians who desperately need this assistance, including the 275 that have written and called my office directly seeking help. Again, I want to restate, this is the employees are working feverishly hard, long hours, great, and this is not because of their lack of effort. This is a lack of direction and leadership. State leadership has the responsibility to manage state agencies to ensure compliance with statute and legislative direction. We, the legislature, have oversight responsibility to ensure that happens. We have both failed Oregonians with this department. I encourage that we correct this action as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your hard work. I know this has been enlightening. I've been able to follow some of the presentation that you've had so far, and those folks are doing a heroic job, but we've got a major problem that I would really like to see us fix. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Finley. Appreciate that. And now we're going to move to Representative Noble. Is he able to call in through Microsoft Teams, Mr. Larson?
Yes. Chair, this is Representative Noble.
Okay, fantastic. I hear you. Will you be audio only?
Audio only, yes. Thank you.
Okay, will you please identify yourself for the record?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ron Noble. I'm the state representative for House District 24, which stretches from McMinnville up to Hillsborough. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you this morning regarding Oregon's failure to meet its constituents' needs. I'd like to start off with a story about about a constituent. I received an email recently. She reached out to our office for help after she hadn't heard back from the unemployment department in the 3 months since she'd filed a claim. While she knows she can't be evicted at this time for not paying rent, her bills are stacking up, and she's concerned that she may not be able to pull herself out of the financial hole to pay her rent in future months. She's been homeless in the past and fears that she may once again be homeless in the future. The sad part is we know that this is not a single story, and this is actually the story of many of Oregonians. My office staff and I want to thank the frontline folks at OED, which I understand is now over 1,000 employees who have been working tirelessly to get the benefits paid. They've been responsive and compassionate about the needs of our constituents as we've contacted them, and we very much appreciate the work that they do. However, these employees can only be as productive as the systems they work with, and while no one could have anticipated this virus, I think we're all aware of the opportunities Oregon had to prepare, but it failed to do so. This failure, unfortunately, has caused undue hardship for Oregonians who are trying desperately to pay their bills and feed their families. And now, 6 months into the virus, we're hearing more reasons and excuses why our constituents haven't received a response. My office has worked tirelessly to help hundreds of constituents get in touch with the employment department about our constituent claims, and we'll continue to assign one full-time staff person to do so. However, the fact that we have all found ourselves having to almost beg for hard-earned and well-deserved benefits on their behalf speaks volumes about the lack of ownership, lack of support and leadership at Oregon's highest levels in government. From my perspective, this is one of the greatest failures of the state of Oregon in my nearly 5 decades as a resident of the state. I appreciate the employment department continuing to have conversations with us about their progress, but frankly, conversations must translate into action in order to get the backlog of claims handled. And for so many people like my constituents that I mentioned, this support is absolutely essential. Oregonians deserve much better than this. We just have to do better, and I thank you for your time and the ability to speak to you today.
Okay, thank you, Representative Noble. Appreciate that. And appreciate you being here today. So, Tyler Larson, who's our administrator here, I'm going to go ahead and move to calling from those who have signed up to testify. So the first person on our list is Esther Harlow, and then what we call, there's a phrase, on deck. The person that will come after is only signed up as Jacqueline from Lincoln County. I want to, before I call on Esther to testify, I want to read into the record here about this is being live streamed across the state, and this will be recorded as well. So in order to avoid confusion and anything, I ask that close the live stream while testifying so we can actually hear. And then when your name is called, give your name for the record and then begin the testimony. Right now, we're going to try to stay around 3 minutes, but I don't, Tyler, I'll pay attention to the clock here. I don't need to have a timer. These are tough times, and I understand we normally have a timer, but I like to just work with the public to try to keep it within that. And then I may have to ask people to stop if they go on much beyond that. Everything that one says today is going into the public record. And again, so please do not share personal information that you don't want someone to be able to search on the internet. And I hope that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and call in Esther, and then after that it'll be Jacqueline, and then Jason Dye. So Tyler, are you the person allowing inviting them in, or is it someone else that does that?
Other staff are going to be responsible for letting folks in.
And who is that?
That'll be Sam Koopman, and I think Sean's also in this, me and Sean Murphy.
Okay, so Sam and Sean. Okay, so Sam or Sean, I guess I'll refer to Sam, so that's who did the roll call. Please allow Esther Harlow to speak.
Madam Chair, everyone is in the meeting. Esther just needs to dial *6 to unmute themselves.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Esther Harlow. I'm currently a claimant, and I'm also one of the many, many, many new staff members at OED who are also claimants. And there's a couple issues I'd like to... I'm sorry, what was that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay, thank you. I just think I had some echo. So there's a couple issues I'd like to speak on. One, my experience as a claimant. I opened a new claim in December after me and 7 of my colleagues were laid off. And unfortunately, there was a tax issue, which is what happens to a lot of people when their payrolls aren't on record. So the tax department has to get all your pay information. And so ours are a little bit slower than usual, but I'm fortunate that I already had an open claim when the pandemic began in March. In April, I was working 3 part-time jobs on and off, and I was doing contract work and also claiming. So I have some outstanding issues, like some unclaimed weeks that I need to claim, but then also there's been additional tax issues that I think are erroneous, but, you know, as it currently stands, I could potentially have like an $8,000 overpayment because of the FPUC $600 payments that were going out. So I need to resolve those, but of course I am working during the day, and I'm not going to clog up the line when there are people who, as you talked about, constituents who just are absolutely destitute at this point. And then kind of from the other side of my experience as a staff member, I just want to speak to a couple things that are public. You know, I'm obviously not going to share anything that's inappropriate that I think absolutely harm claimants and contribute to the problem. I listened to Director Gerstenfeld's testimonies from Wednesday, and I thought he was absolutely candid and very truthful about the operations as I have witnessed them inside of the organization. And so I really appreciated that. And as you all recognize, a lot of staff here who are working and have been working, they're absolutely motivated to evaluate eligibility and make sure people who are eligible get their money and people who are not eligible have the opportunity to apply for PUA and to help people get back to work, and then obviously to help businesses have employees. But there's a couple things that I think harm that. And the first of all is almost this militaristic siloing of information, especially as hundreds or maybe over 1,000, I'm not sure how many people have been onboarded in the last 5 months. There's very much a need to know culture. Like PUA is absolutely in this black box. And if you're here on the UI side, you don't need to know anything about PUA other than what's on the public website. And I think that ultimately does a disservice to claimants because, if someone calls here and someone isn't really trained on PUA and there's all these different claims between PUA and UI, and we can't really tell people what's going on and or necessarily correct it because we don't understand what's going on. And there's not really a way to escalate things easily. You know, if you're talking to someone who's been working and doesn't really need the money versus you're talking to, like some person you mentioned before, single moms who are about to be homeless, who've had utilities shut off. I've had lots of claimants who've had utilities shut off and don't have rent money. And so I think that that does a disservice. And then the second thing that does a big disservice, and it's a really big risk, and I think it's not something to put off, is the lack of telecommuting options. The OED agreed to provide telecommuting, in late June. So I think mid-June, 2.5 months ago, they said they would do a pilot project. And to date, there's 10 people in that pilot project. And the pilot project got delayed because over a third of the staff in one WorkSource office had COVID. There was a COVID outbreak at an OED WorkSource office. And so those resources went to those people so they could work from home while they were quarantining. And so it seems really terrible to staff, very demoralizing that we cannot telecommute. And I know a lot of people, newly trained adjudicators, who are already starting to request extended family leave because they have children doing remote learning and they can't telecommute. They're just going to have to wholesale not be here and not do the work of adjudication, which, as you know, has a huge backlog. So I think that there really needs to be pressure. This is an emergency. It's a public health emergency. COVID numbers are fortunately going down in Oregon, but flu season is coming. And there's a reason children are not in schools in congregate settings, because COVID is transmissible in big groups. And we have big groups of dozens or even hundreds of people in one room at OED buildings. And just this morning, I got an email that there is a COVID case at one of our facilities that I think has 600 or 700 people in it in the building. So I think it's absolutely a huge risk that there could or will be a COVID outbreak. And just for the claim specialists and the adjudicators who are doing this customer-facing work and processing and adjudicating claims, there's no telecommute option that will allow us to get the work done and be flexible. So I really hope that the legislature can push on OED to make sure that we can do the work we want to do and we need to do in a safe way that will support us and the claimants. And just the other thing I wanted to speak on that was that, like I said, there's no way to escalate. And and I think the final thing I specifically want to ask the legislature to do, specifically look at, in our statutes, look at all the things, maybe now, maybe in future sessions, but consider legislative concepts of the statutes that are not mandated by federal rule or law about things that disproportionately impact Black and Indigenous people of color, and especially women. I was really disappointed that SB 1702 did not pass out of committee, because the playing field is not level for teachers and school administrators. And so that would have leveled the playing field. But now those people are still all stuck in adjudication with everyone else, and it slows down adjudication for everyone else. And of course, school teachers and administrators are disproportionately women, many of whom are helping their children with distance learning. So I hope that in both the near term and long term, that the legislature will look at concepts that address those inequities, especially in tandem with the work that you've been doing with the 2 special sessions this summer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for testifying. Appreciate that. Okay, now we'll move on to signed up as Jacqueline from Lincoln County, and then after that we'll have Jason Dye from Multnomah County. Jacqueline, are you there?
Don't know if Jacqueline has dialed in. I'm not seeing her number in the list here.
Okay, is Jason Dye here? And then after that is Christina Lambert, Carrie Penhall, Robert Swan, Kristen Burke.
I'm not seeing Jason's number either.
Okay, Christina Lambert. I'm going to go ahead and say names so that people can, if they hear their name, they can either, if they're available, they can go ahead, we can get them, have them testify. If not, then people will know to call in. So I'm going to, I'm sorry, how did you, or Sam, to refer to somebody? Okay, so Jacqueline from Lincoln County, Jason Dye from Multnomah County, Christina Lambert, it just says from Oregon, Carrie Penhall from Multnomah County, Robert Swan, Benton County, Kristen Burke from Wasco County, Joshua Ward, Clackamas County, Bethany Penhall, Deschutes, and Casey Miller, Multnomah County. Are any of those folks?
Hi, this is Robert Swan. Okay,
perfect. Mr. Swan, we will...
Christina Lambert here. Sorry.
Okay, well, then we're going to go... Mr. So Christina Lambert is earlier on the list, so I'm going to go ahead and call on Christina Lambert, and after that, Robert Swan. So
I'm here as well. Audrey Penhall.
Okay, thank you. So first we'll call on Christina Lambert. So if everyone can mute, please. Christina Lambert, please introduce yourself. And if it's possible to try to keep your testimony within 3 minutes or so, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Hi, thank you. So I first applied for unemployment on April 25th for regular UI, not related to COVID, just bad timing.
Christina Lambert, I need you to say your name into the record, please.
Oh, yeah, I said it. I'm sorry. I guess you didn't. Christina Lambert.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead and proceed, please.
Okay, yeah, I initially filed my regular UI claim on April 25th. I was discharged from work, non-COVID related. I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody for weeks. I was getting stuff in the mail, such as a wage benefit stating I would get $551 a week if I was approved. But new to this whole situation, I had questions. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Weeks passed. I would call at 6:59, a minute before the phone lines opened, and it would redirect me stating that it was too early to call back when they were open. If I called right on the hour at 7 a.m., the phone lines were automatically busy. And so the few times that I was successful after waiting for 4 hours on hold, I got the same information. Waiting for an adjudicator. Couldn't tell me anything further than that. It just said I need to keep waiting. As time went by, I started to stress a little more. June came. Last year, I made $44,000 roughly. Single mom, no degree, worked my way up. And then this year, I couldn't afford a birthday gift for my son. And if it wasn't for EBT, he probably wouldn't have had a cake. And so that's when I started reaching out to legislators, representatives, anybody I could get to listen to me and help me. And they were all gratefully helpful, directed me to the proper legislator that I needed to contact, and they were pushing my information through to the unemployment department. They didn't get any positive or helpful feedback. Then move forward 13 weeks into this, I get denied before having any contact made by my adjudicator, by the department. I've even reached out to the director himself through email, no response. And then I was denied all of a sudden. So it wasn't until after I was denied that I talked with my adjudicator. They stated I got denied for involuntary leave without good cause, which was not correct. He wasn't interested in reconsidering his decision after talking with me. He pretty much said, hey, you already appealed it, so not much is going to make a difference at that point. I did get my appeal sent in on July 20th after receiving notice in the mail that I was denied. Any information I could find on how to appeal stated that I just needed to submit an appeal for a hearing, didn't provide any further information. So I hand wrote an appeal and sent it in through the mail, and I also sent one in via email. And at this time, I still haven't heard from anybody. I talked to a gentleman. I mistakenly got his line somehow, miraculously. He wasn't part of the hearing department. And as of last week, there is no note that I had submitted an appeal. I believe I was supposed to get a form that came with my denial that I filled out, which did not come. My adjudicator also never contacted me through mail, giving me 5 days to respond. He said the reason for not contacting me before the denial was that he couldn't get a hold of me for a phone number change. But with all the emails I sent, I attached all my proper information. Couldn't get through to the department to update it in time. So now I'm left helpless. I don't have any way to get any help. And I'm just continuing to reach out, and hopefully I get an appeal.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for calling in this morning. Thank you, Ms. Lambert. Now, now we will move to, Jacqueline, Jason Dye, are they here? Tyler, can you see them? No. Okay. So then Carrie Penhall, I believe, said that she's here. Is that correct? Carrie Penhall? And then we'll move to Robert Swan. You see her number there? Okay, so now you may be on. You may need to hit. They need to hit *6, correct?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Please introduce yourself into the record and welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Carrie Penhall, and I am in Multnomah County. I applied. My initial application was submitted on the 1st of May, backdated to, the week ending March 21st, as it was allowed on the application. And I filed under the PUA based upon the information on the OED's website, being that I am a gig worker. And after my initial filing, I continued to file every week on the weekly claim, and I heard nothing at all until July 21st. And on July 21st, I was contacted by a lady who wanted to get my proof of earnings, which I emailed back in that same evening. After that, again, I heard nothing until late August, when I finally received a call, and they told me that I had filed under the wrong thing, that I was actually should have filed for regular UI, and that they were considering us employees. I do ride share. I deliver for Amazon, etc. And so they stated that I would need to restart my claim. I was able to fill out their contact form online, and after a couple of days, a lady called me back, and she told me that after looking through my filings, that I had done everything that I was supposed to do, and I was, in fact, eligible for regular UI, and she would transfer me over to a Tier 2 who could get my claim switched over. I sat on hold that day for 5 hours and 56 minutes. And finally, a gentleman came on the phone and said that he would get my claim restarted. So he asked me questions. We went over my income, all of that. And then I asked him about the backdating back to March. And he said that he would give me a call the next day and we would go over each week. That would have been Thursday. Thursday came and went, no phone call. Friday, no phone call. Monday, I was lucky enough to get through on the phone. And I spoke with a lady and explained to her what had happened. And she said she would put me in touch with a Tier 2 who could get my claim backdated. Once he finally got on the line, this Tier 2, he informed me that all backdating had to be done on the same day that the claim was restarted. And since it had not been done, that I was left with two options. One, they could cancel my claim, and I could wait 8 to 10 additional weeks, or they could backdate it, but only as far as this quarter, that being June, thereby losing 2.5 months of benefits that I had claimed and am rightfully owed. I just could not believe what I was hearing. And this is through no fault of my own. This is because of their lack of training. And for me, it seems unbelievable that a mistake created on their part, there isn't a better solution to than to further penalize me in this case. I'm sure I'm not the only one that this has happened to. I asked him if I could speak with his supervisor, somebody higher up than a tier 2. And I was told, quote, that is not how this works. I don't understand how we can lodge a complaint, look for a reasonable solution, even get answers if we're not allowed to speak to anybody above a tier 2. In the end, I ended up opting to have them cancel my claim rather than lose 2.5 months of benefits. But as a result of this, I'm now being forced to wait an additional 2 months at least. And in that time, it's a very real possibility that my car will be repossessed. And being that my car is how I make my living, I think you can imagine what kind of situation that's going to put me in. This is very upsetting, and I feel that the failure on the part of the Oregon Employment Department has left myself and thousands of Oregonians in a very bad position, in a very already stressful and uncertain time. And Oregonians deserve better. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you for, again, sharing your story, and thank you for being here today. We appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Robert Swan. And then after that, Kristen Burke, Joshua Ward, Bethany Penhall, Casey Miller, Don Fredericks, Robert Hood. Those are those who heard their name. Please be prepared. Robert Swan is next. May need to hit star 6. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Robert Swan in Benton County. My profession is I am a project manager now. I have a background in public policy. I have a PhD in public policy. The reason I bring that up is because I, for 20 months, have had a tough time figuring out how to work this system. And I have a doctorate in public policy. And today I'm not going to march through a long list of the suffering I've endured over almost 20 weeks now. What I'd like to do is illustrate my case and the complexity and kind of nuttiness. I almost want to say Byzantine when it comes to my case. And I will say this. I was not able to get this information without contacting my representative, Beauchart Davis, for help. And upon contacting her in 3 days, I had a claims analyst call me back 3 different times. And even then, I had trouble understanding exactly why I didn't get UI or PUA. And so let me just give you a brief, and I'm not going to probably take that much time. I just want to lay out maybe a typical case, especially for PUA folks like me. So we addressed unemployment and PUA. And, the long and the short of it is I lost both. I lost a wage job and contract jobs. I'm a 1099 employee all through 2019. I'm a wage employee through March 7th, I lost all my contract stuff. March 14th, I lost my wage stuff. Almost lost my truck and and a few other things. Luckily, I'm a veteran also and was able to access resources some people can't. So beyond that, I never could get a hold of them until I got a hold of my representative, Beauchart Davis. The way it's been explained to me and the way I have interpreted it after 3 phone calls with a really actually a fabulous claims rep, I will say, very friendly, patient, is that because my jobs ended in March, I actually technically qualified for unemployment, but because I got a small COVID-19 payment from my wage job, about 1/3 of what I was making, I didn't fall below the amount needed to get unemployment until April. So because I qualified in March, that was in a previous quarter, which then somehow nullified my PUA claim because I actually qualified for unemployment in March, but didn't income-wise eligible for a payment till April. And at this point, and I'm not going to go through all the different weird little details here, but I don't get anything. I qualify for nothing. I work hard all the time, and I get nothing. And that's where I'm at. I don't qualify for unemployment now, even though I'm still got COVID-related cancellations on my contract. I actually had a job pulled from Benton County right when COVID hit. I had a six-figure salary job in Hawaii that canceled because they were recruiting me. That got canceled because of COVID. And then 2 jobs shut down. And because of the Byzantine and complex system this is, which is the first thing that needs to get reformed, is simplify this system. This is crazy to me that I am suffering as much as I am with the degrees and the positions I've had and held. I still am having trouble wrapping my head around this. It is just beyond me. If I were still in grad school, I would definitely do a dissertation on this. Do you have any questions? I may have yada-yada'd over a few things, but if you don't, I thank you for your time, and that's really all I wanted to say today. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Swan, and thank you for testifying today. We appreciate hearing from you. It's good to always hear these are all unique stories, colleagues. However, and I appreciate everyone's patience, but I think it's important that we hear what's happening, and these people are testifying, as we can see, from all over the state. So thank you again for your comments today. Now, is Kristen Burke, Joshua Ward, or Bethany Penhall? Those are next up on the list. Are any of them available?
This is Bethany Penhall. I'm here.
Okay, we will go ahead and skip down to Bethany, and then we can always go back to other members on the list. So welcome. Please state your name for the record, and trying to keep testimony around 3 minutes if it's possible, but we do want to hear what your experience has been. So thank you and welcome.
Great, thank you. My name is Bethany Penhall. I'm a resident of Deschutes County. Thank you for taking the opportunity to let me speak today. First, I just have to say that I'm deeply disappointed in the failure of the governor and our executive branch, by and large, for leaving many of us citizens high and dry. From what I heard, that there was no communication between departments, and it was us everyday citizens who paid for it dearly. Thankfully, I had a great advocate in my senator, Senator Tim Snow, and he helped me, and I know many others, get through to the employment department. I'm honestly not sure what I would have done without him. Getting through to the department was nearly impossible. So myself and other families are so grateful, and we would have been forgotten without him. While I am grateful to him, it's wrong that we should have to be begging our elected officials for the resources that we've earned and paid into. So I wish we would have had that quality of leadership when it counted the most. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for making the time in your schedule to testify today. I appreciate that. Okay, we've had, I'm sorry, colleagues, I'm going to keep stating some names that are on the list here just in case, because people tune in at different times. So we still have Jacqueline from Lincoln County, Jason Dye from Multnomah County, Kristen Burke from Wasco County, Joshua Ward, from Clackamas County. Are any of those people on the line?
Joshua Ward is here.
Okay, perfect. You want to go ahead and state your name for the record, please, and go ahead and start.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Joshua Ward. I won't take up too much of your time today. I appreciate hearing other people's stories. I've heard so many stories about the unemployment department and how it has failed thousands of Oregonians and myself. And it enrages me. It's a disgrace. It's pathetic. Because I recognize COVID, put stressors on these systems, but from looking, it seems like there's been dysfunction and disorder in the employment department for over a decade. Where is the leadership? Where is the accountability? I need my waiting week check. I have stuff on credit card racking up interest. And, and I hear that, the money for the waiting week may be forfeited, if it isn't distributed by the end of the year. And the new director, he says it might be available in late November. It just sounds like excuses to me. I am fed up with the lack of accountability, the lack of oversight. I've never had to interface with the government to receive benefits of this regard. And I was furloughed this year, like many other people, and I was thrown into the system. I never got a hold of the unemployment department, so I was put in a negative feedback loop between the antiquated computer system and then calling and just constantly hearing the hold button. Thankful for Karen Power, one of my representatives, for getting me through to the unemployment department where they were able to contact me. And I do appreciate the workers, the frontline workers who are trying to process the claims as fast as possible. I don't hold them culpable, but I blame the leaders of the employment department. And if this is an oversight committee, have some oversight. Do something, because this is a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And I'm sure you can hear my voice, but I'm frustrated. Like, I feel so disenfranchised from this whole process. Like, why would I ever? I'm gonna try my best never having to rely on government again, because clearly you guys can't hold up your end of the bargain. There's no accountability. I paid into this system for a year, and then as soon as I need something, I can't get a hold of anybody. And it frustrates me, for not only for my case, but everyone else. And there needs to be accountability. There needs to be real leadership. And then there needs to be no more excuses. This computer system has been bungled for over a decade. What the heck? And now that we have the pandemic hit, the chickens come home to roost. And you know what? There's a bunch of Oregonians going in debt, racking up interest, losing houses, losing cars. And what's happening? What is happening? So I appreciate you guys hearing my frustration. I know that I did not articulate everything well, but just please, there needs to be accountability and there needs to be leadership. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. You were very articulate, please, and I appreciate you taking the time to out of your day to tell us what's happening. Again, it's important that we hear from everybody and what's happening with them and their claims, and that's why we're here today. So Casey Miller, Don Fredericks, Robert Hood, are any of them on the line? Is that a no, Tyler? Okay. So Lauren, I'm going to spell the last name from Deschutes County, Cattolico. I'm not sure if Lauren's on the line. Also, Belindy Bonser from Jackson County, Audrey Heath from Washington County, Ona Polanka from Multnomah County. Are any of these folks?
Audrey Heath here.
Okay. Audrey Heath, we'll go ahead since she spoke up from Washington County. Welcome. Please state your name for the record and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Senate Committee on Business and Labor. My name is Audrey Heath. I'm 31 years old, born in Hillsboro, Oregon, and currently reside in Washington County. I was raised by a single, hardworking mom. She always had a job to support us and only received a little bit of government assistance when I was born, and received zero help from my biological father. Put myself through college by working all that I could, including working 4 jobs, 1 Christmas season, and I was still able to graduate on the Dean's List with high honors, receiving my finance degree at Boise State University. On March 22nd, I applied for government assistance for the first time in my life. The narrative that the additional unemployment to support those impacted by this virus are lazy and taking advantage is most definitely the exception and not the rule. I have personally spoken to many who have navigated this unemployment experience during the pandemic, and no one, I repeat, no one, wants to be in this situation. When initially filing regular unemployment, I answered all the questions honestly, even the billable hours I had not yet been paid for. For the self-employed, your work schedule, billing cycle, and when you're actually paid are drastically different. What I claimed on March 22nd was not fully paid to me until the week ending May 9th. Turns out, with the newest PUA system that rolled out, I shouldn't have claimed any of it. But with my initial claim filed, I then became aware that I needed to be on the entirely different program because of being self-employed. This made sense, and I patiently waited for the new program to roll out. In May, I finally received a telephone call from the regular unemployment department trying to clarify my count. She was very nice. She didn't have any of the answers I needed, but shared that she was attending a training that afternoon and asked to use my story as an example. As it stood, she definitely felt that I should be on PUA and not regular unemployment. Last I understood, I was denied for being self-employed. So many unanswered calls and emails were placed. On July 15th, I was finally rejoined with a client, and I received a voicemail from the PUA office. In part, she said, "I wanted to let you know that you actually have a regular unemployment claim that is valid, and you will need to contact their office to get your payments processed." She then proceeded to give me their address. I called back multiple times, but again, to no avail. So I submitted a weekly claim for regular unemployment. Turns out I had to restart my claim that I had believed to be denied for due to self-employment. I do not know how to get back those 4 months being juggled between the 2 programs and going through 2 waiting weeks. It is confusing. It is terrifying. I don't understand what's going on, and I cannot get help from a human being to give me direction. As a small business owner, doing work for other small businesses, I can assure you we are all just doing the best we can with what we have. We are currently in a climate of pointing fingers, so I do want to give the acting director some credit and deeply grateful for the hardworking employees of the employment department. While there's still monumental and meaningful steps that need to be taken, I do acknowledge and appreciate the steps that have been taken. Thank you for your time and ability to share my story, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Audrey. I appreciate you taking the time to come and tell us what's happening. And it is very interesting, colleagues. There is obviously a great variety in the testimony that we're hearing today. And so, again, thank you for coming. I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the names on the list. I did already mention, and so if anyone hears their name, please speak up. Ona Galenka, Richard Seehausen, Bernard Garcia, and Rafe Huber. Are any of those folks, if Sam or Tyler can tell me if any of those folks are on the line?
I am available. My name is Belindy Bonzer.
Okay. Well, you're going to go ahead since Belindy spoke up. She's from Jackson County, I believe. If you want to go ahead, welcome. Please state your name for the record. And again, take it away.
Okay. My name is Belindy Bonzer, and actually have had my car repossessed, and I have 2 master's degrees. And I think that what the system is what is broken. The way that the system and things are implemented and the confusion, I feel, is what is possibly at the root a lot of what's going on. I originally filed 5/30/2020, And I called in when I filed and explained my situation, explained I was a federal worker. She said, well, you need to apply for PAU. And I was like, are you sure? And she said, yes. So I applied for PAU. Then I got back and said, no, you have to apply for regular unemployment. Okay, so I applied for regular unemployment. Over the last 14, almost 15 weeks, I've regularly called the Oregon Unemployment Department multiple times to get my case issues resolved. I was given misinformation, conflicting information, and promised follow-up from the Oregon Employment Department from Tier 2 employees and lead workers. But that did not come until 2 weeks ago when I got my until I got my representative involved. I was told on multiple occasions that the tax department was handling my request for federal wages, and then I was told that the tax department isn't the department that makes the request, it's a different department. I was told in June, July, and now August that my federal wages had been requested, but the way that they submitted them was wrong. I provided my W-2s and pay stubs because I was told that would help expedite the process. And I was told that they had to wait to submit my W-2s and my pay stubs for my federal wages request. And that's supposed to occur today, but I don't know if it has occurred today. We are dealing with extreme stress as Oregonians, as unemployed Oregonians. And I feel like I have asked to speak to supervisors. I have sent emails. I have called. I have spent hours upon hours on hold. But my situation, just like so many others, is not being resolved. And I don't understand if you guys don't get, we are suffering. We are desperate and we need help and advocacy. Something has to happen. Someone has to act because this is unacceptable. You guys were elected to represent us, and we need you more than any other time I think I've ever seen constituents needing their legislators. And that's all I have to say. I mean, this is just one story. There are thousands upon thousands of Oregonians that are experiencing the kind of stress and anxiety and frustration that I am. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lindy. I do concur. We do have, I think that between all the legislative offices, I think it's fair to say we have had collectively thousands of Oregonians reaching out. And it is no question that we definitely need to band together and work with the employment department to try to get these resolved. I'm hoping that I know that the employment department is listening to the testimony today and is hearing this feedback. So hopefully they are trying to take some action to solve some of the systematic problems that we are identifying here today. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the top of the list again. Jacqueline from Lincoln County, Jason Dye from Multnomah County, Kristen Burke from Wasco County, Casey Miller, Multnomah County, Don Fredericks, Washington County. If anyone's hearing their name, please feel free to speak up. Robert Hood, Deschutes County, Lauren Catolico, Deschutes County. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. Ona Balanka, Multnomah County, Richard Seehausen, Deschutes County, Bernard Garcia, States Oregon, Rafe Huber, Lane County. Tyler or Sam or any of those individuals on the line?
It looks like Ona is on the line.
Okay. Ona, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Okay. Please state your name for the record and welcome.
Thank you. My name's Ona Galanka, and hello, members of the committee. I've appreciated hearing the words of other people, and I really empathize with them. Due to the pandemic, my position changed to a part-time role, so I'm still privileged to have some form of employment, but my wages were cut in half. I initially filed a claim, but wasn't able to log back into the system in order to file my weekly claims, nor was I or still am I able to access the status of my claim or view any other aspects that are in the unemployment website, such as restarting a claim. Whenever I try to log in with my social security number, I received the same error message that states that because my initial claim is still being processed, I'm not able to log in, but in that same error message, there's a sentence that states that I can, in the meantime, file my weekly claims, but I don't understand how I can do that if I'm not able to log in into the system, so it seems a bit of a catch-22. So I would just really appreciate if the department upgraded their antiquated system and improved a website that is very unfriendly and unwelcoming. And I think that would be a great start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming and testifying today. We appreciate it. Again, I'm going to, unless Tyler, there's someone else already that has identified themselves, I'm going to read the list again. Okay, so Jacqueline, Lincoln County, Jason Dye, Multnomah County. If you hear your name, please speak up. Kristen Burke, Wasco County, Casey Miller, Multnomah County, Don Fredericks, Washington County, Robert Hood, Deschutes County, Lauren Cataloco, Deschutes County, Richard Seehausen, Deschutes County, Bernard Garcia from Oregon, and Rafe Huber, Lane County. Anybody hear their name that is on the line? I'm waiting for either Tyler or Sam to tell me if they see anybody. The way the system works, I can't actually see it myself.
I don't see anyone else. Sam, do you see anyone else on there?
Not currently. I believe all the numbers that are in our meeting have already spoken.
Chair Taylor, this is Lori.
Yes, Senator Monahanson.
Did these people know that there was a second phone number that they were supposed to use other than the one that they registered?
I'm going to let Tyler, it's my understanding that in the instructions they did, but I'm going to have Tyler or Sam or Mr. Perez, someone answer that question.
Senator, when they registered, they're given information about how to call into the meeting.
Okay.
It seems like some folks just chose not to for whatever reason.
Thank you.
To make sure I say, I think I have the right phone number, but just to thank you for mentioning that, Senator Monahanson. Can someone give me what that phone number is? And I will state that now just in case someone doesn't have it and they're watching on OLS.
Oh, okay. You'd like to give out the number so folks can call into the meeting now? Okay. Let me pull that up.
Make sure. I think okay, we discussed this yesterday, but I don't want to say the wrong number. So,
if you'd like folks to be able to join the meeting now, the phone number for that is 971-323-0147.
Okay, is that the number they were given on the instructions when they signed up to testify, or is this yet a different number?
There is also a toll-free number.
Okay, just first, Tyler, can you answer that? Can somebody? It doesn't have to be.
I don't know which number they were given. There are two numbers that both lead to the meeting. I don't know which one they were given.
They were given the toll-free number.
Okay.
Toll-free number, and so the toll-free number is
833-827-2970.
Okay, so the toll-free number. So for those who are watching on OLS and heard their name, I'm going to go through this from the very beginning because I really want people to be able to testify. And also, if there is anyone who is actually in front of the Oregon State Capitol in Salem, we do have a kiosk out there, and we have a camera there to let us know if there is someone there who wants to testify. So if you are having challenges dialing in, there are two numbers that one can try. One is a toll-free number, 1-833-827-2970. The other option gets you to the same place, but is 971-323-0147. Now, the people who signed up I'm sorry?
Senator Taylor, they will need a dial-in code here as well.
Okay, the dial-in code is?
It is 227-676-266.
Okay, and for me, and I think of myself as a numbers person, can you please say that again?
It is 227-676-266 #.
Okay, so for those listening, again, the toll-free number is 1-833-827-2970 or 971-323-0147, and the code to enter is 227676266 #. Did I say that correctly, Tyler? Okay, and just, colleagues, I'm doing this just, you know how life is. You could be doing a million different things right now and juggling a lot of things, and it's easy to lose track of numbers. So I'm going to say again who signed up, because we have about 10 people, 10 people who signed up but have not spoken yet. So Jacqueline, Lincoln County; Jason Dye, Multnomah County; Kristen Burke, Wasco County; Casey Miller, Multnomah County; Don Fredericks, Washington County; Robert Hood, Deschutes County; Lauren Catoloco, Deschutes County; Richard Seehausen, Deschutes County; Bernard Garcia from Oregon; and Ray Huber, Lane County. Are any of those people on the line? Does not appear to be the case. So, well, this is a challenging situation because I definitely want to hear from those people. So is it possible I see that there are phone numbers listed here, not for all of them. I see one person did not provide a phone number, but the rest did. What I'd like to do is make certain that we hear from these individuals and that they are given the opportunity, if they are not able, and I understand things happen in life, and they weren't able to call in today, that they could provide their testimony in writing. So, Tyler, I will ask that is there someone who just called in? Thought I heard somebody.
Yes, I'm waiting.
What is your name, please?
Sarah Ruby.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Sarah Ruby. SARAARUBY.
Okay, so it doesn't look like signed up ahead of time, but that's okay. So why don't you go ahead and state your name again for the record, and perhaps spell, is this correct, Tyler? This person did not pre-register, which is fine. But is that correct? Okay. That's completely fine. And just spell your name for the record, please. Thank you, and welcome.
Okay, her name's Sarah Ruby. I've been waiting 25 to 24 weeks for my PUA. I've been told twice now by 2 employees at the department that I would be receiving funds within the next 4 weeks, and I still have not gotten anything.
Okay, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. Tyler, did you get the spelling of this individual's name? I'm sorry, because I just want to make sure we have your name down, and I apologize for asking a third time. It's just the technology that I can't quite hear you. So if you could spell your first and last name, please.
Sarah Ruby, SARAH-RUBY.
Simple enough. I apologize. I just didn't quite hear it. Okay. So, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I mean, it's just ridiculous. They've had me re-enter everything once, and I've got payments that I got to get due, and I don't have the money for it because I keep getting jerked around by the system.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in, and I'm sorry this has been such a struggle. And again, I know that it's not easy. We have your name, and hopefully folks are listening, and we can see what we can do to try to get through not only these cases, but through the backlog. So I appreciate you calling in.
Well, I hope something changes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So what I'd like to do is, Tyler will reach out, either have you or I will have Catherine Morrison, who's my legislative assistant, reach out to these individuals so that they and work with them to get their, if they choose to, obviously it's an individual choice, that if they would like to submit testimony in writing, that we do that. I just know how life is, and people may have registered yesterday to testify, but then something happened and they weren't able to do it today. But I just want to make certain that we understand what's happening with these individuals, since they did take the time to register to testify today. So has anyone else called in that time?
No.
Okay. So thank you, Sam, and thank you, Tyler. And I am going to, we will, in one way or the other, either through the committee or through my office, we'll reach out to these remaining individuals and ask what's happening with them, and have some form, an email or something go into try to help them get something into the public record here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public testimony will be allowed. We are extending it another day till tomorrow, Friday, September 4th, until 5 p.m. The email address to send that to, just to make certain everyone understands, is slb.exhibit@oregonlegislature.gov. And remember, please do not put any personal information, social security numbers, contact claim number, etc., because this is all searchable on the internet, so that you can keep your information private. So, colleagues, thank you for taking the time to listen to our fellow Oregonians and what's happening with them. We also know that we're hearing from our own constituents, and maybe not even our own. Sometimes we get emails from people who aren't even our own constituents. And I know that my office, I can't think of a legislator who is not helping constituents and Oregonians work through the process to try to get their claims resolved. So this is a tough situation. Mr. Gerstenfeld, the head of the Employment Department, obviously provided testimony for the last 2 days. I appreciate the depth of knowledge that Mr. Gerstenfeld has, and I think that, at least I'll speak for myself, that I learned quite a bit about the complexity of the situation. There are some things that I was also very frustrated about, and not understanding why they couldn't be resolved and why they were not, things were not being managed in a way that I would like to see them managed. However, I then have learned what some of the challenges are, and I want to empower, is the word I will use, Mr. Gerstenfeld and the staff at the Employment Department. I want to thank them for their hard work, and at the same time want to empower them to be creative and to feel that they can change course and try new things in order to improve the response time for the claimants. I know that they are attempting to do that. However, on us as legislators, it would be great that we help them in any way that we can try to get through the backlog of claims. I have invited Mr. Gerstenfeld, the Employment Department, to come back during legislative days. You will see that on our agenda. They know that this is coming. This is part of the oversight that we will be doing as a legislative body, and we will be hearing from them about where we stand So we got a snapshot in time of what's happened. We also learned the history of how we got to where we're at. And now, during the legislative weeks, for those who don't necessarily know, that's the week of September 21st. And then we will have them back, and they will explain any changes that have occurred. So we are not going to have, obviously, the exact same hearings all over again, but this will be an update of where we're at, have things improved, what are they trying to do, etc. I want to give an opportunity to my fellow committee members if they wanted to make any statements before we conclude. It's been the end of yesterday were 2 long days, and then today we did hear from people, but I don't want anyone who's watching, or especially the media watching, thinking that because we only had this, what some would say, a small number of people come to testify, that somehow means that there's not a situation. I don't think that's the case at all. I serve on other committees as well, and there have been limited number of people who testified, but it doesn't mean there is not an issue. I think this is due to COVID, that in the Capitol is closed. And if the Capitol were open, based on past experience, I think that we would have a significant number of people showing up to testify. But these are tough times and unprecedented times, and it's not necessarily clear how one comes to testify in front of the Oregon legislature online. So with that being said, colleagues, I'll start with my Vice Chair Knopp before we conclude, and then move over to Senator Haas and Senator Monis-Anderson and Senator Hansel. Senator Knopp, anything you'd like to add before we conclude?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the hearings and the urgency of resolving these problems. Also, looking on OLA, it looks like there's almost 100 people who have submitted testimony as well there. So beyond the people who were trying to call in. And as several people have mentioned, each legislator with 200 to 300 or more contacts of people who just have been locked out of the system somehow and haven't been able to get in, I think speaks to the emergency that exists. And so my message to the director of the department and his team is that the goal has to be getting money into the hands of people who have been promised this money through our system. And so whatever means necessary that they need to employ to make sure that that happens needs to happen, because we've seen the frustration. You can hear it in their voices. You can hear the desperation. And it's critical to help these Oregonians that, they are trying to survive. And I think it is the goal of all of us to try to help them survive through this. So, again, thank you for the hearings, and I appreciate the opportunity that Oregonians have to express their concern on the issue.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Knopp. And also, I apologize. I meant to state that it just slipped my mind about the colleagues to look on OLA, and people already have submitted written testimony, which is sometimes more comfortable for individuals, which is also understandable. And yes, there are approximately 100, and that number may grow. Senator Haas, and then move to Senator Monis-Anderson.
Thank you, Senator Taylor. I just echo what Senator Knopp said, but I have been moved by this issue, unlike any other constituent issue in almost 20 years in the legislature. We have a social justice movement or revolution in this country, in this state. But to me, for these people who have been calling our offices for months now, this is about social justice. They're at a place where they've lost their job, and now they go to rely on their insurance benefits that they deserve, and it's not there. And so where is the justice in that? And so this is a very moving, it's not just the people that testified today, but really I think it's the people who've been testifying to all of us over the weeks and months since March. And my hope is that the legislature moving forward cannot figure out a way to address the current needs at what I hope is getting to be the tail end of this, but also address the structural or cultural issues so that we can prevent the kind of complacency that existed a decade ago that caused this problem to begin with.
Okay, thank you. Senator Miles Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank you and President Courtney, Senator Finley, for making sure that these hearings actually occurred. But today was extremely important to have public testimony as well as all of the testimony on OLAF. I would like Director Gerstenfeld to, during informational hearings, to answer some of the questions that came up today. And that was restarting through no fault of their own. They are not going to be paid or delay in payment, etc. Is this a federal issue? Is this a state issue? And no matter whether it's federal or state, those issues need to change when it is actually the fault of the department and not the constituent. And also, that's mainly, I hope that the department will look at some of the complaints or all of the complaints and come forward with how can we make this easier for Oregonians when we get into a situation like this, and how can we expedite the issue now? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Monson. And Senator Hansel, did you want to add anything? I'm not sure if he's able to hear me. Our fellow senator who represents parts of Eastern Oregon, and doesn't sound like he can hear me right now.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, you can. I apologize. Senator Hansel, any closing comments you'd like to make?
Well, I certainly agree with my colleagues, Senator Knope and Senator Hasser and Senator Mona Sanderson. I guess the only thing I would add is my heart's just broken. To hear the pain, to hear the testimonies, to hear how we have just let our citizens down. And the handful that testified today are representative, literally thousands and thousands of Oregonians across the state that continue to be hurting through no fault of their own. Monumental letdown of what government is supposed to be doing. There's all sorts of reasons, excuses, but the bottom line is we failed big time. And we've got to create a system where this doesn't happen again. So I want to thank everybody for their testimony today. I want to thank you, Chair, for a great series of meetings. When I first heard that we're going to be meeting 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, I thought, oh, great. I'll be there, but it has been very important to have these meetings. You've done a great job leading them, and it's like I said, my heart's broken. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Hansel. And I agree with you that the testimony that we did hear today, I can just tell you from the interactions that I have had personally and that my office has had with constituents, that they really are reflective, and it doesn't seem to matter where you are in the state, that a person's story in Multnomah County can be very similar to someone in Malheur County. I mean, these stories are all over the state, and there's a lot of crossover and similarity, which is very interesting. So we did also learn, colleagues, that there is a trend forming about how individuals in the BIPOC community may be at higher risk of either, if I understood the data correctly, that there is a risk about being negatively impacted at a disproportionate rate than others during this pandemic, and about getting back to work and benefits and et cetera. We're going to I understand that information is not in granular detail at the employment department, but they, I feel, have heard directly from me and others that we want them to pay attention and to follow what's happening in the best way that they can to make certain that we are understanding who is most at risk here. And so as we get prepared for legislative days that are the week of September 21st, committee members, please reach out to me and let me know exactly what you would like to hear from the Employment Department. I will be putting forward a detailed agenda as I did for these hearings so that we can continue to provide oversight and to hear back from them and hopefully help them. And if we need to start with also having some legislative concepts drafted for the next legislative session, then we will also want to hear from the Employment Department, and I'd like to hear from my fellow committee members about what changes, if any, are needed on legislative fixes. So I hope that all makes sense, and I really want to thank everybody, and I want to thank folks. There's a lot to make these hearings happen. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it is a lot, and I want to thank Tyler Larson, in particular, our administrator, everybody's legislative assistant, my legislative assistant, Catherine Morrison, and to Sam and Mr. Perez and to Sean and the folks who run the the kiosk outside the Capitol. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen in order for all of this to get into the public record. I just want to take a moment to thank them. And again, I think that the folks at the Employment Department are listening. It is my understanding they were going to be paying attention to this hearings. And I did state in the record, and I mean it when I say it, we are going to reach out to those who are not able to testify but did sign up today. Only one person, Robert Hood, did not provide a phone number. Everyone else you'll be hearing either from me or from somebody from the committee so that we can get your information into the record. So with that being said,
Senator Taylor, we did hear from David Gerstenfeld. I think we've had some other inquiries about the list of folks who testified. So that list will be posted. It does not include contact information. That was provided for the express purpose of facilitating testimony today, so that's not going to be made public. But the names and their organization or county residents will be posted to the public record. Mr. Gerstenfeld asked for that so that he can follow up also on claim issues. So he wanted me to let you know.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Gerstenfeld, for listening. And obviously he heard he wasn't going to be getting a phone call from me when we concluded. So I appreciate Mr. Gerstenfeld paying attention. And yes, of course, I didn't state the phone numbers into the record because that's the antithesis of what we said. We wanted to keep that confidential. But we will make that connection between the Employment Department and those who testified today. And then, of course, encourage committee members to look at the public testimony on OLS, because there are a lot of very, very interesting cases that are there, and people took the time to submit that. So I do ask committee members to take the time and look at the testimony that was provided. So with that, did I miss anything? I am looking for a signal from Tyler. He's nodding his head no, that I have not missed anything, so I don't want to conclude prematurely.
No, I think we got it.
We're all good. Okay. All right. So thank you. And thank you, Senator Hansel, for calling in. Senator Haas, Senator Miles Sanderson, and as always, my Vice Chair, Senator Knoop. Thank you, everybody, for these days of hearings. And we will be continuing this conversation during legislative days. Thank you, and have a good day.